of the Council of the Village of Fundy Albert for April 24th, 2024 to order. First order of business is the adoption of the agenda. The agenda for this afternoon's meeting was circulated in advance. Are there any errors or omissions on the agenda? If not, I'll move on to item number 3, which is conflict of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest to declare in relation to the matter that we'll be discussing? There being none, I should say. I will move on to item number 4, which is the Alma Utility Capital Fund Transfer. So there is a requirement to repair a fire hydrant in the community of Alma. If I'm not mistaken, it's the fire hydrant that is the connection point for the Alma temporary water supply. I wasn't 100% sure from reading that, but as I understand it, they found that it is leaking, so maybe that's the cause of our issue. But it is important that be repaired prior to connection to the temporary water supply. So in order to have a conversation about it, we would need a motion of council to adopt a resolution. So if I could have someone to read that, if I may, please.
I'll read it. Whereas the replacement of a fire hydrant in the community of Alma is crucial to mitigate risk to a temporary water supply in 2024, be it resolved that the Village of Fundy Albert Council authorizes the transfer of $14,780 from the Alma Utility Capital Reserve to the Alma Utility Operating Fund to proceed with the replacement of the fire hydrant.
So moved by Councillor Arrow, seconded by Councillor Coates. Any discussion on the motion? Councillor Arrow?
Yeah, do we know what's failed there?
We do. There's a leak happening underneath it and it needs a full replacement. So they have to remove the fire hydrant and put a new one in.
And there's digging obviously
There's
involved.
digging and it's right along the water shoreline there. So there's a permit that was required and
Yeah, okay. No, it's unfortunate, but it needs to be done. There's no doubt.
Well, as I said, it could be the source of our
Maybe.
leak, right? And Councillor Coates, any comments or discussion?
No, just, it is replacing them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I understood.
Yeah, that's what I understood as well. Anyone else have any comments or discussion?
just the timing. Immediately. It needs to get done right away in order for the temporary water line to go in. And temporary water line is scheduled for May to start with. So
even with the WAWA permit, you were able
we're
to start.
yeah.
The only other comment I would have, Bob, is that when I was reading the council report form, which was very detailed and good, and it's talking at some length about the temporary water supply and the cost for it. It occurred to me, and maybe we can talk about this another day, because I think I think I'm onto an idea here that I think has merit. Is that right now on the utility side of Fundy Albert, we have 3 separate, basically budgets, one for each of the utilities for the 4 municipalities. And it occurred to me, especially when I was going through the list of stuff like this, that there's many expenses related to the utilities that are actually common, and then having common to the 3 systems, and that having a 4th budget or bank account or whatever, which is where the common expenditures could go for the 3 systems, and then have some way of apportioning those common expenses. There's a whole list of stuff that you can imagine that is part of running a water and sewer system, but it's must be used for all 3 systems. Training for the people, the personnel involved, and the vehicles that are involved, and tools, special tools, unless it's dedicated only to one system. Even the spare parts inventory. So I can see that there's some tremendous merit in doing this, and I think we should at some point. I don't know whether the administration is already thinking about that or.
Have not, but I'm curious if that's maybe part of the discussions for the subcommittee that's forming for the Alma Utility.
You know, I think that's just to do with the bylaw. That wouldn't necessarily do with the fiscal side of the funding Alma Utility. Right.
Perhaps it can be something discussed sometime down the road. I don't know, well, I mean, it all depends on the workload for our administrator staff and staffing. But it's definitely worth looking.
Yeah, because one wonders how it's being apportioned right now, where there's a cost that,
Maybe that's a better question.
yeah, like even for instance, the temporary piping, right? So I get it, we're buying the pipe for now. But what's gonna happen when the next project is happening in one of our other, how are we gonna do the fiscal monkey business on that, right? If instead this kind of stuff was being bought through the common system, even the computers that are required to read the SCADA, and there's a long list of stuff you can imagine that's actually just common. Okay, perhaps I will put something in a report form or something.
Sure. All right. Any other questions or comments? If not, on the motion, all in favor of the motion signify by stating aye.
Aye.
Opposed, if any, motion's carried unanimously. So that concludes our business for the day, so I will accept a motion to adjourn. So moved by Councillor Elder. Thank you very much, and I'll just get our CAO to stop the recording.
Great.